Hey everybody, thanks for coming today. We're still letting some people in. I'm letting dial for dollars in. That would be good. And we appreciate you. Oh, hold on. Check. All right. We appreciate you guys jumping on today. It's going to be, again, we invited a smaller group and it's going to be kind of a mishmash because the goal today is for us to do two things at once: train anybody that wants to be trained. So thanks for coming for that. And then we're going to be doing some recording for our on-demand training. Feel free to stop us at any time if you have questions. That's always good for the on-demand training, because what happens is if somebody takes this class on demand without the ability to ask us questions, inevitably the questions that you have, they're going to have too. So, we're more than happy to answer those questions for you. We're going to get the spreadsheet set up here, the training set up here in just a second or so, and then we'll get rolling. But again, thank you so much for your patience ahead of time. As we work through this, we may do a double take on a couple of different things, but it should still be a fantastic training. Fingers crossed.
Russell, you want mute?
All right, we have a couple last stragglers coming in here.
There you go.
And
we can hear you.
we should be all set. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get rolling. All right, I want to thank everybody coming to the training today. For those of you that just jumped on and didn't hear me at the beginning, we're going to maybe start and stop a couple times. It's going to be the on-demand training that we're going to be using going forward. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We didn't do as good of a job last time recording like we were supposed to, so we thank you for joining this special session. For those of you that don't know, we've actually been in development of this product for a long time. So it's been a long time and a lot of money. And we are finally ready to launch the new platform, which is exciting. So the new platform is going to be zero lag time, which is fantastic. For those of you that have used Homebids a lot in the past, you'll know what happens is Sunday evening at 6 o'clock is when we highly recommend that you end the bidding on your property. That being the case, we have a lot of people trying to end at the same time, right? So what happens is we were getting a lot of lag in the system and it just didn't work. So we have fixed that problem with the new program, and we're glad that everybody's jumping on. Gosh, we still got people jumping on. And you're going to see the results of that in the new platform. So you should be happy with the results. Additionally, what makes this program really successful, in our opinion, is some of the emails that we send in conjunction with the process itself, the process the way it's supposed to be done. So in this new training, we're adding a little bit more to the marketing and then what you proactively need to do as an agent. Additionally, what you'll see is the new platform has about 40 or 50 emails that are automatically generated. Now, phase 2, you're going to be able to do some modifications to those emails. Those of you that have been around for a while and you do the marketing emails and text messages on Sundays, I would recommend that you still keep those, but realize that there's also automation that's happening. Some of that is going on all by itself. So, all right, we're going to go here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the USA Homebids version 2 certified agent training. We're so glad you're joining us today, either here in person or with our on-demand training. We're going to do our best to make sure that you're fully prepared to run one of these. However, don't fret. We are here for you. When you get your first USA Homebids listing, please give us a call. Feel free to touch base with us before the listing appointment, after the listing appointment, before writing the listing agreement, and then through the entirety of the process the first time that you do this. Because if you're anything like me, when I took the class, I was like, this thing's a gimmick. It's never going to work. And here I am 100+ transactions since then. It works amazing. I had a very big aha moment when I was missing my first listing. I wasn't going to land the listing and they were saying, hey, thank you so much for coming today, but we're going to be interviewing other agents. And I was like, oh man, that thing that I learned a few months ago, I'm going to pitch that real quick, right? And so I pitched it and they signed the listing that same day because the perception was, right, they're only paying 3%. They're paying the sell side. And traditionally, we're in contract in 13 days. And the explanation that I got from the seller that day on why they signed, for those of you that know the story, I'm making it much, much shorter, is, hey, we're into anything that saves us time and money. And the fact that we're only paying 3% and we're going to be in contract in 13 days makes us excited, right? And so that's why I jumped into this with both feet. And then Amir and I have both done a ton of these in Sacramento. As a matter of fact, I hate to say it, but right now we're still fighting with the number of MLSs, probably 3 out of 130. Unfortunately, our home MLS here in Sacramento is one of the ones that we are negotiating with on how we're supposed to do this correctly. I do want to mention that this is not an auction. Not an auction. If you're doing an auction, you have to have an auctioneer's license. We absolutely do not do that. What this is a great marketing tool to help you land listings, and more importantly, to help you land buyers. You can run a whole team on just doing USA Homebids listings because you'll get so many buyers. So it's a marketing product. We do not sell anything, so that's not an auction. When the hammer falls on the last day at 6 p.m., most likely. We are only now establishing a price from that point forward. Whatever state you're in, we're going to go into contract with the contract of that state, all of the normal contingencies, of course, like any other listing. You can say you want all cash, or you can say that it qualifies for different types of lendings, or you can have stuff set up. This is no different than any other sale. And what you'll notice is after you're in contract on a Homebids listing, from that point forward, it feels like any other traditional listing, right? It's just a little different beforehand. And in the very last day, when you're paying out, you pay that 0.5% referral fee to USA Homebids. That's the only differences once you get into contract. Again, myself, Russell Enyart, and Amir Chachkovich are going to be doing the training today. So let's go ahead and get started. We always start with success stories because I can't even tell you, I just went through another gentleman in Colorado that told me it wasn't going to work in his area. In my humble opinion, it worked fantastic. But here are some different places, right? We have condos, multifamilies, high-end, low-end, Colorado, Florida, Oregon, and California. So I have 4 different states, 4 different types of properties. And what I'll tell you is, if you follow the system that we are going to lay out for you today, this process absolutely works. We use science. Science is the best thing in the whole world. So when you get into a bidding situation, your mind subconsciously allows you to bid more. You're going to value something more than you did before. That's why they do the online bidding for cars. That's why eBay works so well. You are going to bid more than you would originally intended because of the subconscious mind. So you have to follow the system for that actually to work. The other thing I can tell you is you can't start too low. I started about 50% of property value when I start the bidding. It is only a starting price. You will fail miserably at this if you allow the seller to control what you do. They don't know the system. They don't understand how it works. You need to control the system. And unless you're controlling the system, don't use it. So here's again, 4 different styles of properties, different states, different, levels of finishedness. By the way, the bottom left and the top right are both mine. I did personally. So you'll see on that Walnut Creek one on the bottom left-hand side, there was no front door. There was no siding. There was nothing. I don't know if you can see that, but the front door is a piece of plywood. There's no front door there. I started that at $699,000. My seller was looking for $1,050,000. Now it's Walnut Creek, California, which is a nice area here in California. We ended up at $1.295 million cash. We closed in 5 days. That bidding actually ended at $1.407 million. My sellers were so ecstatic that they didn't want to take any chances. They said, hey, we just want you to go out and find us cash. So we took $1.295 million cash. And then on the opposite side, if you look at the top right-hand side, that's another one of my properties. That one was well done, right? It was Lafayette's not quite as nice as Walnut Creek. It's still a nicer area. We started at $899 and we ended at $1.48 million. What sellers will want you to do is this. They're like, oh, by the way, the ones that went at 1.48, they told me their property was worth 1.4. Right? We got them 80 extra grand. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to start it at 1.15. And I told them that's not going to work. 1.15 is too close to 1.4. People are going to think there's something wrong with it, right? It's just a little bit of a discount and something weird's going on. We're not going to get the traffic flow that we need to drive the excitement to make this work. People are not going to start bidding on it like we need them to bid on it. So they agreed. We started at $899,000, right? Which was essentially $500,000 below what they thought it might be worth at 1.4. And they were ecstatic that we ended up 80 grand above what they were hoping to get. But again, they listened to me and they followed the system. The number one thing that will make you fail when you do a USA Homebids listing is listening to the seller. They've never done it before and pricing the property too close to value. That will absolutely not work. So it's a hybrid, I would say, between traditional real estate and an auction. Again, what we're using is that auction mentality during the bidding process to drive price above where you would normally drive it. Additionally, especially in today's market, not like the last couple of years where properties were having 15, 20 offers in the first weekend, we're starting to get back to a more normal market, and getting into contract in 13 days in a normal market is fantastic, right? It happens extremely quickly. The other thing that you're going to love about this process is it's transparent. If you've been a buyer's agent the last 3 years, you're going to notice that people would get very excited on highest and best, and they would get bummed out, right? Like, oh my gosh, highest and best. There's 30 offers. The top 10 got the opportunity to bid highest and best. It's happening behind closed doors, and you can't win as a buyer's agent. If you do get the property, your client looks at you like, oh my gosh, we outbid 10 people. What happened? We must have paid too much. If they don't get the property, right, and they missed it, they're mad at you because you didn't bid enough. Like, it's a no-win situation. What's great about this process is it's fully transparent. And as a buyer's agent, you get to see every single bid that happens, and your buyer is never paying more than $1,000 higher than someone else was willing to bid. Right. So that's fantastic. When you look back at that one, we're going to go back real quick to the last ones here. So for example, I'm just going to go to the top right, Michael Lane and Lafayette. Even though we finished at 1.480, there was somebody else at 1.479. Right. They were only $1,000 apart. And what's great about that is you can put a little pressure on the people that are the highest bid to close, because there's somebody only $1,000 behind. And it's fully transparent. There's less cold feet because the buyer knows they only paid $1,000 more than somebody else was willing to pay. So it works awesome. It's super transparent. One of the things that we get asked all the time is, what is the buyer's premium? And it's a fee essentially that we charge the buyer that the seller can use for closing costs. Now, most typically we just say, hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer's agent, we're assuming you want a full commission, right? 2.5%. Well, this makes sure that you get the 2.5%. We take 2.5%, we give it to the buyer's agent. We take 0.5% and we give it to Homebids. So if the winning bid was $100,000 and the buyer's premium is 3%, the buyer's premium would be $3,000. So when they wrote their RPA or purchase contract or purchase sale agreement, depending upon what state you're in and what it's called, your purchase price would be $103,000. It would be the $100,000 they bid plus the $3,000 premium. And at that point forward, You forget that Homebids ever existed, right? Put them in the past. Other than the fact that when you close escrow at the very end, they get their 0.5%. From that point forward, once you're in contract, it feels like a normal transaction. Some important things to remember when using USA Homebids: no upfront fees required from the seller. If you've used any other bidding platforms, they charge $5.99 or a minimum of $1,500, or there's all kinds of crazy stuff I've seen out there. They do different strategies, and I'm not saying that they're bad or don't work. What I'll tell you is this one is fantastic because the seller is very comfortable that there's zero risk, zero financial risk, zero upfront fees. Us as agents honestly are taking all the risk. However, if you do it correctly, you will end up above value and you'll have a very happy seller and lots of referrals. Seller reserves the right to accept, negotiate, reject bids, which is absolutely fantastic. No risk involved. The highest bid and bid history is transparent. So we're going to do a demo later on where you're going to be able to see all of the bids, and everyone can see all the bids. They can all see what you can see. Now, as an agent, you are going to get access to the back end. And if you have access to the back end of the system, you will also get to see somebody's highest and best bid if they put that in there. What I would suggest to you, if you're not listening, start listening, is do not share that. So let's say, for example, somebody is willing to pay $900,000 and the bidding is only at $750, right? And you end it, let's say $805 for something like that. Well, there was somebody willing to pay $900, but the bidding never got there because what they were able to do was set their high bid and just leave it to where they either get outbid or they win the property. Now, don't just assume that they're still willing to pay $900, even though the bidding ended at $805. What I would do is, if your seller is not happy, is say, hey, listen, let me go see if I can negotiate with the top bidder and see if we can't get you what you want. What are you looking for, right? And if they say, hey, if it's not 8.25, I'm not making it happen, I would say you have a pretty good opportunity to bid in and get an 805. They were originally willing to pay $900. If the seller wants 8.25, this might be a situation where you might make it happen, right? You can call them, say, hey, listen, our seller was really looking for 8.25. Don't tell them that they were willing to go to 900, right? That's for your eyes only on the back end. Don't tell your seller, because you never know if you're going to make that happen. And if you can't make that happen, it's a big deal. By the way, I see a whole bunch of chats. Okay, it's just people saying they couldn't hear me. All right, now they can hear me. All right, we're good. All right, perfect. The bidding process is conducted online only, which is amazing. There's no funny business outside of online. By the way, I will give you another key to success. Do not let anybody go around the process. Hey, we're just going to wait until Monday, see what the high bid is, and submit a bid for a grand higher. No, sorry. I will not consider your offer until I've already presented the winning bidder to the sellers. I'm going to present them first. The reason being is it only takes two that are willing to bid up the property above value that make everything work. And if you take one of those people out of the scenario by saying you'll accept an offer on Monday, you're totally sabotaging the system. Do not do that. Once the winning bid is accepted by the seller, just like I said before, all of the normal state contingencies that you have, they stay. This is just a process to establish a price. It will go on your normal purchase agreement for your state. And from that point forward, it feels like a normal transactions with all of the normal contingencies. We also highly suggest, I'm about to do one on an owner occupied home. I have that coming up in next Thursday in Rockland. Fantastic house. We're going to go through the process. I only do showings during open houses for occupied properties. Keeps it highly controlled for your seller. I promise you the traffic will be a madhouse. Make sure that you consult with your local MLS and all of your local rules to make sure that's okay. But I do like to do that really controlled environment for my sellers that do occupied properties. If you're doing a USA Homebid sale, I'm telling you right now, your phone is going to ring off the hook if you do it properly and you price it about 50% of value. Everything will work great. By the way, I think our test question, does it say 43 now? What's our test question say?
Starting 57%.
57. So our test question said
57 of the market value, so 43 below.
Our test question, I'm giving away a test question. It's going to be 57% of market value. Me, I like to go 50% or lower. I've just done so many of them. I know you can't go too low. For example, I just did a flip that was in Rancho Cordova here up in Northern California. I thought it was worth 410, 420. I started it at 199. We ended up at 450, which was fantastic. The test question, however, today is 57%. So I'm helping you
because we our best number is between 57 and 2/3, so 66. So the test question would be probably 66 because they're still not up there. But the new number 57 is kind of sweet number. Sweet middle number to start.
All right, so I guess we hopefully can't mark you off on those test questions. So 57 to 67 or whatever it says, I say 50% or below, we will update the test. That's why we're doing this run right now. Lastly, we got cutting edge technology and full broker representation. What I tell people is traditionally we are offering a 3% listing for the seller, right? And we're collecting a 3% premium. So you're definitely going to get full service. If you're collecting 3%, the seller is going to be absolutely ecstatic because they're only paying the 3 and everybody wins. So full broker representation. We will get multiple offers within 11 days. The reason I mention 11 days is this. We start on Thursdays. Remember, I go back to the beginning of this training. We use science according to the National Association of Realtors. If you didn't know this already, here you go, a little tidbit of information. Listing on a Thursday obtains approximately $3,000 more for your seller than any other day of the week. I don't list any other day other than Thursday. I don't list on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. I list on Thursdays only. And there's a little research that's gone behind that. When you're putting together your open house schedule on Friday, you see a brand new property that's been on the MLS for 1 day. And you see the open houses, chances are you're going to go see it, right? It's all a marketing strategy. If you start on a Monday, when they get their list together on Friday for open houses, oh my gosh, that one's already been on the market 5 days. You know, maybe it's already in contract. They might leave it off the list, but 1 day, they're definitely going to see it. And I'll tell you how many times this has happened to me is we will get a call on Monday and they'll be like, hey, you know, my name is Diane. You held a sale for my friend Steve yesterday. And we were watching the bidding online last night. We want to sell our house with you. How does it work? And what happens is when people find out something new, they share it with their friends. Like, hey, we're selling our house. We're using this new platform. Rumor is we're going to be above value. You should watch it with us, right? Or check it out. And so you'll have a number of people that are watching their friends' houses at 6 o'clock on Sunday to see where the bidding goes. I get text messages all the time from the sellers and their friends that I didn't know before on Sunday evenings going, this is the coolest thing I have ever seen. As a matter of fact, one of the folks that I did about 2 weeks ago, she said I was the best real estate agent in the world. I said, well, that's pretty high praise. I don't know if I'm the best real estate agent in the world or the process just works really well. Again, unlike other places where there's non-refundable deposits, none of that takes place here. This is a normal, everyday transaction. There's no reason for sellers to get stuck in a 6-month listing agreement. This process, when done correctly, will deliver in 11 days. People ask me, is there any property it doesn't work well for? And I would say potentially 2. 1, a super rural property where if you price it at half price, ain't nobody coming to see it anyways. One of those ones that was going to take 6 to 9 months to sell with very strategic marketing. It may not work for that one. Or the same property that nobody else has been able to sell the whole time. What will happen is, like, if you have a really weird property that just isn't selling, this process will get you more. You will actually get more through this process than any other way that you will, that you've gotten there. But if you have a property that's 1,500 square feet and it comps out at a certain place as 1,500 square feet, but no agent has come anywhere near value because the property is so weird or quirky or it's just unattractive or whatever it is, I guarantee you this process will land you more money in a very short period of time, but you're still not going to get to maximum value on a very weird property, right? It's just, it works miracles, but not super Mary Poppins fairy dust miracles. So those are the 2 properties I would tell you that are a little different. Now, if it's a regular rural property with decent demand, we suggest an 18-day process instead of 11. So you basically run an extra week of bidding. All right. Here's what the sellers love: leveraging new technology. Talked about that. Watching bidding online. Talked about that. Again, usually done in 11 days. Why I say usually is if the Sunday is going to be a holiday, we postpone the end of bidding until Monday or Tuesday. Don't end bidding on Easter. Don't end bidding on Mother's Day. Don't end bidding on 4th of July. So if a big holiday falls on a Sunday, you're going to want to go to Monday or Tuesday based on the holiday, right? Don't end bidding on Super Bowl Sunday. You know, there's certain days where people are preoccupied with other stuff. So it's usually done in 11 days, sometimes 12 or 13. Holy moly, this is the time. This is my cue for you, Amir, on open houses. What I'm going to do here in a second is I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let Amir share his screen. Does anybody remember, Best Buy and what used to happen the day before Black Friday? People would be camping out in their, tents, and they would bring their coffee and they'd have, donuts. Actually, Best Buy even started showing movies that night as people sat around waiting for all of the crazy deals. Well, that's exactly what happens in our open houses. The last open house that I did was just a couple weeks ago. On the first Saturday, we counted 113 people that came through on Saturday. We wanted to get a good head count, which is just insane. What I will tell you also is we have some strategies to capture those buyers that are unrepresented that are phenomenal. So if you come to the training today and you learn nothing but a really good open house strategy, well, I think we did our job. You ready to share? Should I stop sharing? All right, I'm going to let Amir share. I'm going to stop sharing.
Oh, it's disabled. You need to.
Yeah. Jeez, I'm not that fast. Here we go. Now you can take over.
Okay. Can you see it?
I can see it.
So this was one open house, and that kind of doing last year. So we had still mask not required, but a lot of people wearing masks and then social distancing. But I came 10 minutes before 11. 11 o'clock was that opening time for open house. You couldn't find parking on the street. And check this out. There's only 15 seconds, 11 seconds. People trying to find the parking, and then 40 people in the line. 40 people in the line to see the house. We just opened the door. It's just crazy. It was crazy. So we got, I believe, that first day took us by the surprise. Over 100 people, 130, 140 Saturday, and then the same amount of people on Sunday. Just first weekend. That house, by the way, sold for over what we expected. But it's just amount of people and potential leads you can generate. We made only one mistake. There was only two of us, and we missed probably 20 to 25 buyer leads because physically you cannot talk to multiple people at the same time. People waiting, and then they see that you're talking to somebody else and they just leave. And that way you can lose a lot of potential buyers leads. So keep in mind, Homebids is not only a lead generation system for the sellers, you can get a bunch of listings, but also a lot of buyers leads. Yeah. Back to you.
All right. Can you guys see my gray screen again, or do you still see the cars? Cars?
Stop sharing.
See the cars. See the cars.
Now?
Yeah,
Gray screen, anybody?
Your screen.
your screen that why should sellers use Homebids?
Yes, it's yours now.
It's me? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, so my open house strategy. This absolutely works for these. It's going to work when you have an open house that creates a ton of energy. Here's what we do. We require our buyer's agents on my team to collect off-market properties, canceled, expired, and for sale by owners in the area. Our call is very simple. It's the same to all of them. Hey, is your property still for sale? Or will you still accept an offer on your property? They're going to say, you know, it's not for sale, or no, you know, like what? No. I just want to be really clear. What price would you be willing to sell your property at? We only have one property for sale in your area, and we have huge demand, so many buyers, and we're not able to sell, obviously, this one property to multiple buyers. What would you be willing to take for your property if I brought you an offer today? Oh, okay. And they come up with a crazy number. Who cares? Whatever, you know, a lot of times it's a reasonable number. Even if it's a crazy number, I don't care. I will tell you a story about when I did a Rancho Cordova. House was worth probably 700 grand. They said they wanted 775 for it. I wrote it down, 3-hole punched it, put it in my off-market binder. And then when you have folks come up, and they either come up on their own or they come up without an agent, right? And you ask them if they have an agent. It's, again, I'm going to go back to my Best Buy analogy. No thanks, just looking, right? So what they'll say is, oh yeah, we have an agent. We just came to look at the property. And I say, that's unfortunate because I have this off-market binder, and I close the binder. I say that we only share it with our clients of 7 properties that are available in this general area. However, again, we only share our off-market properties with our own clients because it takes us extra work to get them. You will find out right then and there if they actually have an agent. You know, we talked to this guy, Steve, 3 months ago. He doesn't know we're out looking. We didn't sign anything with him. We'd love to see that off-market binder. And that's when we say, fantastic. I'll tell you what, here is a broker buyer agreement for the next 120 days. We would love to find you the house of your dreams. We're going to first, of course, show you the open house today. If that one doesn't happen to work for you, we will show you all of the properties in this off-market binder. We'll try to make one of those work. And God forbid one of those doesn't work, I promise we're going to work our tails off to find you the home of your dreams. You know, if you know anybody else that has 7 off-market properties over here, let us know, right? We've already worked hard enough to find those. And they will sign that day so they can see that off-market binder. If you don't use any other strategy, use that one moving forward. It absolutely works. And I'll tell you a funny story. That one, and the reason I bring it up, that one that was worth about 700 over towards the Anatolia area that they told me 775. I had 2 state workers that had been looking in that area. They had relatives that lived a couple doors down from this one. They're like, we don't care. We'll take it. We'll pay whatever the appraisal gap is. I'm like, you're serious? They're like, yeah, that's the house that we want. I called Eric, the guy that owned it. I said, hey, I have your house sold for 775. He's like, you're going to make me move? I'm like, yeah, you told me. So we did a tour, sold their house for 775. It appraised for 710. They had to make up a $65,000 difference. And I found them their dream home out in Wilton. So they were super excited. They got on 5 acres. I got 2 sales out of it, 775 on theirs. And then we bought the new home for 1.1 million. So it absolutely works. All right, and we all know that millennials are now driving a ton of purchasing decisions and they do everything online. So why not this one? Starting price 33% below market. We'll have to update that to 50 or more on both the test and the website or the training here. What I'll tell you is we did 33% below market, and what people were telling us were, hey, the seller said it was worth 900,000. You know, so we went 67% of 900,000, and guess what? It was only worth 800,000. You know, and anyway, long story short, 50% of value works best. The Homebids open houses drive amazing crowds. We already told you that it's 100 plus people, which is absolutely true. And what I'll tell you is this: right now, right, we have a whole bunch of websites out there that are trying to cut us out as agents, right? They don't want us anymore. Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, right? They're cutting out the traditional real estate agents and trying to take our commissions, in my humble opinion. What I love about this platform is you always click that API button, right? That syndicate to the internet button when you're listing on MLS. And then we get the exact opposite that's happening. I'm not paying 1 penny to Redfin, Trulia, Zillow, Realtor, all of those sites. And guess what all of those sites are doing? They're giving me tons of free leads. Tons. I get text messages all the time. Hey, are you the listing agent on 123 Main Street? I saw it on Zillow. I tracked you down. I realized that you're the listing agent. I believe I want to use you. Again, I'm getting tons of free leads from Redfin, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor, all those guys. So why not take our own business back from these sites, you know, that are trying to take it from us? Tell your seller to stop paying 6% commissions. I don't know if you know this, but the National Association of Realtors had a number of suits open around the transparency of commissions. I think we solved that problem. With the way that we write our listing agreements, you can see that very clearly 3% is coming from the seller, and that we are getting another 3% premium that the seller can use towards closing costs. We say, hey, listen, it's just so ironic that 2.5% would go to the buyer, 0.5% goes to the platform. We think it clarifies where the commissions are coming from and where they're going. And it eliminates that National Association of Realtors lawsuit. Again, full service. Trust me, if you're getting paid quicker, you're getting paid a full 3%, you're going to work your tail off. You can do a 13-day listing contract. For those of you that join my Thursday FISBO calls, I would normally be doing it tomorrow. But for all those EXP agents here on the call, I'm 1 day late to EXP shareholders meeting in Orlando. I'm going tomorrow morning. So I'm not doing my calling tomorrow. But next Thursday, if you want to join us for 2 straight hours, I call for sale by owners for you. I land appointments for you. And those appointments turn into listings. I know because I do them all the time for myself. I probably do 20-ish or so for sale by owner listings myself using this platform. And one of the things those for sale by owners love is a very short listing contract. Listen, if I can't sell it at a price you're comfortable for in 13 days, you can fire me and keep my professional marketing package. I'm going to do professional pictures and video. for your listing. And if you hate the offers I bring you, and I guarantee you, after 13 days, you can fire me and go back on the market. I'm so confident you're going to love the price. I'm willing to take that risk. So there's no reason for a seller to get tied up for 3 to 6 months when we're going to sell it in 13 days. Multiple offers guaranteed within 11 days. Again, the bidding's done on Sunday most often. Don't do it on Super Bowl Sunday. Don't do it on Easter Sunday. Don't do it on 4th of July. But most of the time within 11 days, we have multiple offers rolling in. The reason that we say 13, 11 days for the bidding, ends on Sunday. We collect offers on Monday, which is day 12, present them to the seller. And then that gives us an opportunity if there's some terms and conditions that don't work for our seller, so we can counter and get back into contract. Our listing agreements are also written so that if we do get into contract, they automatically extend until the close of escrow, right? That way everybody gets paid and we close the deal. Minimal disruption, 5 open houses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is optimal. We go on the market on a Thursday. And here's, by the way, one of my closes. So when I'm closing a for sale by owner that I've gone and knocked on the door or, called or whatever, I do a timeline close. Monday is going to be pictures and video, right? Tuesday, we're going to install the signs, make sure the lock boxes are good. I need an extra set of lock box. On Wednesday is just a cushion day in case something doesn't happen. Thursday, we're going to go on the market. Your sign's going to already be up. We're ready to go. Friday, we launch our social media advertising campaign. Saturday is our first open house. Sunday is our second open house. We did research in the area in a twilight on Wednesday is best for you. So we're going to do Wednesday from 5:30 to 7:30 open house. And then the following Saturday and Sunday, Saturday from 10 to 1, Sunday from 1 to 4 are going to be open houses. We're going to end the bidding at 6 p.m. or so on Sunday, because oftentimes the bidding goes over. After the bidding ends at 6-ish p.m., Monday, we're going to collect offers. You and I are going to get together. We're going to review them. We're going to counter any terms and conditions that you don't love, because I know you're going to love the price. And then on Tuesday, we're going to open escrow and be into contract with a fantastic buyer. We're going to close 30 days later. Any questions? That's the timeline close that I use. And then I just start picking a time for the photographer, videographer to come out. Now, why is it great for buyers? Some people are like, if I was a buyer, why would I like this? Again, highest and best, knowing what to bid for a property. This is the best tool to figure out where the market is on a certain property, and the transparency is phenomenal, right? You can know exactly what other buyers are willing to bid for the same home that you're looking at. And then you have the power to decide in real time whether you want to continue bidding or not. And then, you don't get stuck in anything that you didn't want or feel like you bid way too much. Help bidders navigate the bidding process and anticipate their questions. How do I register to bid? We're going to show you on the new site. If you're already a registered USA Homebids agent, it's really similar. A few enhancements which make things better. Can a buyer's agent bid on my behalf? The answer to that question is 100% yes. There's 3 different buttons essentially that folks can click that help you as a listing agent on who they are. I am a buyer without an agent. By the way, if you don't put them with somebody on your team or refer them out in a hurry, there is something wrong with you. You need to immediately contact that person. If you're not going to double in the deal, then you need to refer them to a buyer's agent on your team or another agent that you trust. I'm a buyer with an agent. Those people, we keep informed on how the process works, but we definitely don't step on the toes of the other agent. All of the communication is going to be on the property itself and how the process works. And then the last one is, I am an agent representing my client. Great. We don't care who bids. We want to make sure that it works properly. There's 2 ways to do bidding, which leads us to the next question. Why does it ask for credit card info? Here's why I will tell you that we allow credit cards for registration. Let's say that it just so happens that Sunday is not a holiday, but it's your niece's birthday, right? And you're at the birthday party, and your birthday party just so happens to start at 5:30, and you don't have time to monitor the system from 5:30 to 6, and somebody at the last minute decides they want to bid. There's no way for them to register if you were the only one that could be approving them, and your seller might miss out on a very good buyer. So we allow people to register via credit card for identification purposes, and we have a little scare tactic that says, hey, if you bid and you're the winning bidder and you don't submit an offer, we're going to charge you $500. Again, we're just trying to keep the system as pure as we can. And the reason that it asks for a credit card is for that last half an hour. Now, some people will do a credit card with a week to go. What I normally do is I call them, I qualify them, I ask for a pre-approval letter, right? And make sure that we have a proof of funds for that buyer. What I will tell you this is also, let's say we'll go back to my Rancho Cordova situation. For those of you that like to double in, that's fine. The state of California allows it. If the state that you're in allows it, that's okay with me. Obviously, just let's follow all the rules and be high integrity. But what I would say is it's probably only good to represent one buyer on your own personal listing. Again, I try to only do the listing side. I usually refer out to my buyer agent team, any active buyers. And here's what I do to qualify them. You're going to have, if you do it right, usually 15 or more qualified bidders. Most of the time, if you do it correctly, you're going to have around 25. And let's say 3 of them are buyers without agents. I'll call them. I'll say, hey, listen, saw that you were a buyer without an agent. Love to help you. Are there any questions I can answer about the process? No. Okay, great. I would like to see, I see that you registered with a credit card. However, there's 6 days left in the bidding. I just want to make sure that you're a qualified buyer. You don't currently have an agent. Would you please send me your pre-approval letter and your proof of funds? So going back to my Rancho Cordova property, I started it at $199. We all knew the value was probably $410. If they send me a pre-approval for $450, that's the one I want to take that I'm representing because I know they can afford what this property is going to sell for. Or it's a fantastic referral for somebody. If they send me a pre-approval for $250, I'm not going to discourage them to bid. And I will put them with one of my buyer's agents that really kills it in that 250 price range, right? I'm assuming that these guys are going to be disappointed they don't get this house, but I'll try to put them with an agent that makes sense for them. So you can kind of get a good feel for where this property is going to end up as you qualify each of the buyers. And let's say, for example, on my property, I think on out of the 29 bidders that I had, 10 of them were qualified for 400 plus. So I had a good idea that we were going to be well over 400 when we ended. And it's a good idea for you to understand where that property is going to be going. Where is the 3% buyer premium explained? A million different places. It's funny that people ask this still, but it still happens. By the way, if you're a registered agent already, one of the pains in the butts of the old system was you had to manually send us the form that says you understand how the 0.5% works, right? Before we would make your property live. We have automated that system. So let me be really clear. If you use USA Homebids on a listing, you get charged 0.5% if you're the agent that sells the property in the next 6 months, 180 days. For 2 reasons. Number one, this is the best listing tool I have ever seen. You will land more listings. You're giving your sellers options. Number 2, you're going to land buyers if you do it correctly. I cannot tell you how many buyers leads I get on every single one of my Homebids listings. I have Homebids listings hitting the next 2 weeks. I'll probably have 20 to 25 qualified buyers that I pass off to my team. So the 0.5% is charged to you because it's a great listing tool and it's a great buyer agent tool. You get charged the 0.5% if you list the property on Homebids, and from the day that you list it, you're the agent that sells it within 180 days of listing it on Homebids, right? So just to be super clear, so what happens now in the new system is it's automated. Before you publish live, you actually fill out and sign the form electronically, and no longer do you have to wait for us to make it public, which is awesome. It happens automatically. All right, here we go. So I think at this point, we are going to actually walk through how the system works. And then we're going to go through a live demo where you're all going to be active participants, right? And we're actually going to register and bid on a property. So how do you register? We're going to go through the training first, right? And we're going to learn it. Then we're going to go through and we're going to do it by hand, each of us, to make sure that it works. Give me 2 seconds here. All right, here we go. No big deal. All right, so in a new browser, not now, we're going to just train first. In a new browser, what you're going to do is you're going to open currently usahomebid.com. It's the parallel test site that we're running right now. For those of you that are doing the on-demand training, you can try Homebid, but my guess is that it's going to be Homebids by the time you take this. So as you see, number 2, it says usahomebid.com. Again, if you're taking the on-demand training, it's going to be either bid or bids. Once you get there, though, you're going to see this blue screen, not the black and red. So if you see the blue screen and you see something that looks very similar to what you see on your screen right now, then you are in the right place. You're going to click join or log in up in the upper right-hand corner where that giant red arrow is, right? So hopefully not hard to see. Unfortunately for you, you're going to see my smiley face on that first page and a little video that walks you through the benefits for agents. I'm sorry that you have to see that. And then you're going to go over to the register side, right? The right-hand side where you log in, register, you're going to put in your first name, last name, email, all of that stuff. Now, if you're already registered on the site, you can just log in. You're going to select if you're an agent or a buyer and if you have representation. Once you've done that, geez, my system's going fast. All right, once you've done that, you're going to obviously pick a phone number. Don't forget your password. It's not that hard to reset your password. Those of you that knew the last system, it was extremely difficult. This one is a much easier process, which is great. And then insert your brokerage there. And then it says, hello, Amir, buyer. Thanks for getting started with USA Homebids. So again, you can register as an agent, you can register as a buyer, it doesn't matter, and then it'll confirm your sign up.
Make sure, I mean, we got some calls, I couldn't log into the website, it doesn't work. The simple solution is you did not confirm your confirmation email. You make sure you confirm, may go to spam, most likely not, but you should confirm. Without confirmation email, you will not be able to access.
Now, those of you that are already certified on the site, the old site, after taking the training today, we're not going to make you take a test. We will certify you on the new site. And so this one, you see, it's a big red thing. Hey, you need to be certified before creating a property. Right there in the middle of the screen. If you are already certified, we will get that fixed for you. Hopefully it's not clunky. Hopefully we got you all through, but bear with us. We're going to be transferring over around 700 agents. And I'm sure that we will get 690 of them right. And you'll be one of the 10 that we don't. But we will get it fixed in short order for you. We have a very good system on the back end this time. We're going to show you now how to add a listing. It's super easy in this new system, very user friendly. So you're going to go on the add a listing. You're going to put in obviously all of the information. It's very intuitive on where each of the places go. Hopefully you know what country it's in. That would be good. Let's see here. The bidding options, you're able to select the buyer's premium, the bid start date, bid start time, bid end date, bid time. I haven't had anybody complain yet about this. Also, instead of having to manually enter it, it's a really easy drop down now for the open houses. You just select however many you want and hit enter. Detailed property description. Almost exactly the same as before. Very, very simple. The whole process takes about 3 months. Again, on the picture piece, now instead of 5 megabytes, you can do pictures up to 100 megabytes. I would still tell everybody, do a save on your pictures for, internet quality or media quality. It's plenty for this.
Yeah, make sure, because if you have, let's say, typically 8 to 10 megabytes per picture, if it's print already. So, and you trying to upload 50 pictures, it will exceed 100 megabytes, right? So you make sure your picture size is below 2 megabytes because 50 times 2 is 100, and you can upload up to 100 megabytes, unlimited number of pictures.
Perfect. All right, here is the new automation that everybody loves that's had to deal with us before. I apologize for the clunkiness of the old system. That's why we've been working so hard on the new one. This is the agreement. What would used to happen is, for those of you that have done this before, you'd get all ready to go. And then of course you'd have to stop. You'd send us your agreement. We confirm the agreement, and then we would publish your property. It's a pain in the butt for us, pain in the butt for you. No longer does that happen. You type in your name, you then accept the tech-free agreement, and there's no stalling. Your property goes live right then. All right, how to search for a property and how to place a bid. So once you get into our system and you do a search of properties, it's super easy to see. It tells you what's happening, what's coming soon. You guys can do coming soons on ours. It tells you how much time is left. We are working on one little bug where it used to be if you click the pictures, you only see the pictures. And if you click the property address, you see the entirety of the listing. We're going to get it fixed where it works on both. But right now, you will see that giant red bid now button, which if you click on bid now, that's going to take you to the ability to bid, which is what everybody wants. Right here, you go ahead and click on bid now. What we're also going to do, and we've gotten some feedback, is if you see the current bid and the buyer's premium, and then it says total purchase price, we're going to have a little info button that says, if you were the winning bidder, this would be the purchase price, because we got feedback that it is misleading, that if you put a bid in, holy moly, I've just purchased the property. But what's nice about this new system is if you've used this system before, people are like, oh, I didn't know what the 3% was, even though it's stated 100 times. Oh, I didn't know that I had to write my RPA for 3% more. So this clarifies, right? So your current bid is 350. If you have a 0.5% buyer's premium, that buyer premium is $10,500. So the purchase agreement is going to be for $360,500. Now, again, two different ways to register. If you look at the screen, provide a credit card or request listing agent approval. I always tell agents that I talk to on the phone, just request my approval. If it's a rock star agent, for those of you that are busy agents, you can tell right away. I usually don't ask them for anything. I just talk to them about their buyer permit and I make a note in the system. Very cool. In the new system, you can make notes on each of the different buyers so that you know if you talk to them, you can put in there what they're pre-qualified for. It just gives you a better tool for knowing what's going on with your listing. Now, of course, if it's somebody you've never talked to before and they want to qualify themselves with a credit card, they can do that. But what I do is I immediately call that person and make sure they know what they're doing. This is the email that you're going to receive as an agent saying, hey, Amir, the test buyer, say you had approval to bid, and you can either accept or reject. What I liked about the old system is when you hit accept, you get to see all of the buyers. So we're working on that right now. The new system, today's features is once you hit accept, they're approved to bid.
Yeah, so it's before you have to log into back office and approve them manually. Now you get email, you can approve on the go.
Very cool.
Any questions of this? So it's I know that quite a few people here were using the old system, and now with the new one, you will see huge improvement on the how streamlined is it? Much easier to much user friendlier than before, right? For some new agents, you don't know the old platform, which is good. You're just gonna get started with a new one.
All right, Mr. Huntington Beach asks, is the list site commission 3% of the winning bid or purchase price? Great question. It is of the purchase price. Everything, our way our listing agreement reads is everything comes from the purchase price, right? Trying to back it out is almost impossible. We have modified this language a little bit to fit into all 50 states' laws. Andrew, do you have a question?
I did, yes. I was wondering, as far as the pre-approval is concerned, is that something which that dialogue would have already taken place, I assume, before pressing the approval for the buyer?
Yeah. What I do is when I have a agent that I talk to on the phone that calls me out, basically almost a cold call, I walk them through the system. If I can tell Andrew, and I know I'm being what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I'm being judgmental, right? If they are a solid agent, I know who they are already. I'll ask them a couple questions about their buyer. I'll make some notes in the system. And when they send over the request, I'll approve them right away. If it's an agent I've never heard of, or if the agent asks for my approval before calling me, I will try to get a pre-approval and a proof of funds and then put those notes in the system, and then I'll approve them. I just want to make sure I understand who I'm dealing with and that I'm not going to end up with a problem at the end. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think I did.
Yes. Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. And again, we have a little bit new language on this. So Amir and Bree, as we get there, but essentially every listing agreement across the United States, we're in, I think, 24 states now, has been relatively similar, except for like 2 states. And we could talk about those as one-offs at some point. But the price that you put into the listing agreement is the starting bid price. Again, I highly suggest you're at 50% of value or less. And there's language in there that protects the seller, that the seller does not have to accept any terms or conditions, right? Terms or conditions are important on every single agreement. I'm going to go back to our metro list here in Sacramento. Says any price that's on the listing agreement, the seller has to be willing to accept. And I told them, of course they do, based upon the terms and conditions. If the terms and conditions are not what they're looking for, they don't have to accept it, just like anywhere in the country, right? So very, very important. All right, the other areas, this is a 6% listing. If you're charging 3% to the seller and giving the buyer 2.5% and paying the platform 0.5%. Hold your horses though. I'm going to get to the actual language that we put in to make sure that the seller completely understands that we're above board. And I'll walk you through how I explain it. And I've never had a problem. And again, I've done more than 100 of these. Make sure that these areas where the red arrows are here in the state of California, and your state's going to be very similar. The first one is the total listing of 6%. That second red arrow is 180 days. And then the third arrow is 2.5%. What's the 180 days? It's this. You're only taking a 13-day listing potentially. You're going to send over, let's say for some unknown reason, you don't sell the place. You're going to send over the entire list of everybody that came through on your open house. Again, I highly recommend you use the KV Core Open House app to capture all of the potential buyers. It'll hashtag them for you. And if you do have a property that hasn't sold, which I've had maybe 3 in 24 months out of 115-ish, something like that, that didn't sell through the platform, you can send over a list to the seller. Hey, these 178 buyers are people I've showed that property to. And if any of those 178 buy it in the next 180 days, you are due a commission, right? You just don't want anybody working around you. Here's the most important part. And we have the updated language available for you. You don't have to write this down or screenshot it or anything like that. We have it available in resources. But essentially this says what I tell you, and I'm going to walk you through the way I explain it to sellers from the very beginning. Anytime that you're an agent that's on the listing side, and that's all I've do, and I sell a lot of properties. I think when I looked at my last enterprise, I've had 80 transactions over the last 12 months, which is a lot. And I do almost all sales. You have to massage the seller the entire time the right way. They need to be fully informed on the current market trends in their area. They have to have a clear understanding of what their property is actually worth, so that when you come in with the Homebids offer, which is going to be above the market, they are ready to accept it, right? You can't have any delusional sellers that their property is worth something that it's not, or you're going to have trouble regardless of what process you use. What I can tell you is almost 100% of the time we come in above value using the platform. Additionally, I think you remember I talked about the National Association Realtors and the fact that they continue to face lawsuits around the lack of transparency and commissions. Also, their seller essentially is required to pay all commissions according to the National Association of Realtors, right? And this is part of the big problem that we're having nationally. So what I tell the sellers is, listen, the National Association of Realtors requires you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, to release all commissions. However, this addendum clearly states, right, that we're going to be charging a 3% buyer premium. That buyer premium gets to be used for your closing costs, right? And it just so happens that we're going to pay the buyer's agent 2.5% and the Homebids platform 0.5%. So while you're having to release all 6, which is on the agreement, only 3% is coming out of your pocket and 3% is coming in the form of a buyer premium. Does that make sense? And they always say yes, and I sign the agreement. What I tell you though, is if you send over the agreement with the 6% with no explanation, you have an opportunity to lose that listing because they're going to think you're being dishonest. I actually had a newer agent that just sent over the agreement. We were able to unwind it once I explained it to the seller, but he was ready to cancel and he wasn't happy with my new agent because he didn't understand the way that it was split up in the addendum. Here in the state of California, that addendum shows up as the last page. And when I'm walking in a seller through the listing agreement, I start with the last page. I say, hey, do me a favor in your DocuSign, just scroll all the way down to the last page. I want you to go through that with me. And I want to make sure it's extremely clear that this is exactly what we talked about. And we review that text overflow addendum. They're like, yep, that's exactly what we talked about. You see what 3% is coming in a buyer's premium and you're paying 3%? I do. You see that's a total of 6? I do. Fantastic. The National Association of Realtors requires you to release both of those. So now we're going to scroll up and see that The 3 that the buyer is bringing plus the 3 that you're paying is 6. Does that make sense? It does make sense. Okay, great. So again, once I've done that, I've never had an issue. At this point, your listing agreement is ready for signatures. There are a couple different ways you're going to list it in your local MLS. What I would tell everybody is I list it in Homebids first. Grab the link. Once it's listed in Homebids, it can sit on Homebids before it goes into the MLS. The national law is you have to, within 24 hours of starting to advertise it to the public, you have to put it into a multiple listing service, right? So you want to be compliant nationally. So don't list it in USA Homebids on Friday and not put it in your MLS till Monday. That's not a good idea. I would just do it the same day, like an hour or 2 hours before. As long as you're 24 hours in that window, you're completely compliant. So do USA Homebids first. Then depending upon what MLS you're in, they're going to make you call it an auction, or they're not going to make you call it an auction. I'll tell you that about 95% don't call it an auction and 5% do. But you need to find out from your MLS what they're going to require you to do it. However, they are all going to ask you, if it's a bidding situation, in confidential agent remarks to make sure that your language is complete and concise. You have to tell them a few things. A, where to go bid. B, when the bidding is over. And C, how the bidding process works. Also, if there's a disclaimer like there is in ours and anything else, is that the seller reserves the right to accept or reject the highest bid. What I also put in the new language, and again, you don't need to screenshot. We have better language now. We attach the frequently asked questions for buyers and agents to all of our listings, and it solves a ton of our problems. So those things need to be required in there. And I'll go back to the beginning of the training. Once you're going to a listing appointment, feel free to contact us. We'll coach you through the first listing appointment. When you're ready to sign your first listing agreement, give us a contact. We'll make sure that we help you with the listing agreement. And then during the process, again, through your first one, let's make sure you get it right. It's important to us that you love the system because we continue to earn an income. It's important to you that you love the first one because you're closing deals and getting money in your pocket. So we're here to help you succeed. We're going to skip this. We're not going to do this anymore. This is like the back end on how to write the listing agreement. I've already taken you through it. Now your listing is live. We encourage you to share on social media. We always do a social media purchase on a Friday. We showed you how to do the back end approvals. Also, we have a number of text messages and emails that we've been doing manually on Sundays. Now, a lot of that's going to happen automatically in the system. We aren't all the way where we need to be yet. It's a very simple message. We're going to be able to automate it to where you can change the message to fit your property, but that's going to be in phase 2. So what I would say is if you're used to doing text messages and emails on your own on Sundays, great. Please keep doing those to continue to advertise the property. What I'll tell you is soon, if you use the KV Core app at the open house, and obviously entered the property into the USA Homebid system, 2 things are going to happen. The system is automatically going to advertise to all of the people that came to the open house based upon the hashtag in the KV Core system. So you're not going to have to do any of that. And by the way, I don't even do that. Most people don't do that. That's going to happen automatically for you, which is super cool. We're going to integrate with KV Core. That's going to go out. That's probably phase 3. Also, in phase 2, however, all of the automated emails that are going to go out will give you an opportunity to modify perfectly for your property. It just takes more coding than we're ready to do right now. What you can do, however, is let's say that you have that niece's birthday party and you forgot to do your preloaded messages Sunday morning in your Gmail or whatever email system that you use to all the registered bidders. There are going to be reminders that are sent out automatically for you that are darn close to a really high quality one that you would send out. They're a little more general, but they're going to go out a half an hour or so before the bidding ends. And then there's bidding extended emails that are going to happen all by themselves. Those are all important pieces to being as successful as possible. And a lot of that is going to be automated, and it's going to be even better in phase 2 and phase 3. What I would also highly suggest that you do is if you see a way we can make the system better now that we have full control and it's so much more robust, send us suggestions, right? And we will vet them with our coding team or whatever they call those guys on the back end, the programming team, and they will implement them in our next phase of programming if it's something that makes sense and that we need to get into the system well. So we'd love your feedback. All right, what I would tell you is contact all of the bidders, right? To do before the bidding ends. You want to make sure that you connect with all of your approved bidders, send the reminder emails, which again, most of those are happening on their own now. Text message and email is what I normally do. I've already talked to all of them on the phone. We have email templates and frequently asked questions on our resources page. It also comes in a toolbox that comes to you after you become a registered agent. So you should have them in 2 locations. But if you go to usahomebids.com/resources, they're all right there. Utilize the frequently asked questions to field questions from bidders. What I'll tell you is this. I actually had a gentleman that's on my team in Missouri. He ran 2 of these at the same time. And if you run 2 of them at the same time, expect a full mailbox on your cell phone and no opportunity to talk to all of the people that are calling you. It's just not going to happen. So what happens is you're going to be on the phone with somebody, 4 more people are going to call in while you're on the phone. So I have a very good text messaging system. I just say, hey, I'm on the phone. How can I help you? They'll be like, hey, I'm calling on your Homebids listing. Of course you are. I said, are you an agent, a buyer with an agent, or a buyer without an agent? That's the first text question that I have saved into my phone. If they say I'm an agent or I'm a buyer with an agent, if they say either of those 2, one of my preset text messages, great. Please check the frequently asked questions on MLS. If you still have questions afterwards, let me know and I'll give you a call back. So now I've shifted the burden of answering those questions to the FAQs on MLS that I've already placed on there, and it saves me a ton of work. If they say I'm a buyer without an agent, I say, fantastic. Have you been pre-approved already for a loan? And if they say no, then I say, great, here is my preferred lender. Please get pre-approved with him and we will move forward together. I will call you back after you're pre-approved. Yes, I'm already pre-approved is another answer they can give. If they are already pre-approved, then it's fantastic. Would you please send your pre-approval to my email and I will approve you to bid, right? And then once they send the pre-approval to my email, I put a note in the system of what they are pre-approved for, and I've already received their pre-approval letter, and I go ahead and approve them to bid. On that last day, Sunday, you want to make sure that you send emails, texts, phone calls, smoke signals, Morse code, whatever it is to try to drive the value of your property. We work for the seller. Our goal is to get every single penny that we can for our seller. Explain to bidders how bidding extension works. Unlike eBay, you can't sniper anybody at 5:59 and 59 seconds on the USA Homebids platform. If somebody bids within the last 12 minutes of the bidding, we have extended it to 12 minutes. So the bidding will be extended for 12 minutes and it will continue to extend for 12 minutes every time there's a bid after 6 p.m. So for example, if the bid comes in at 5:50, the bidding no longer ends at 6, it ends at 6:02, which is 12 minutes after 5:50. If a bid comes in at 6:01, bidding now gets extended to 6:13, which is just 6:01 plus 12 minutes until there's been 0 bids for 12 minutes. We think if everybody's stand around and stared at their computer screen for 12 minutes and wasn't compelled to bid, that we have done a good job of getting all of the bids that are coming in on that property. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't go to the auto bid feature. There is an auto bid feature just like on eBay. So those of you that are used to eBay, let's say a property like mine that I put in Rancho Cordova that I started at $199. Somebody's like, man, I know that property is worth $415. I want to go ahead and just not waste any time. I'm going to put like 403. Right? 403 plus the 3% is around 415. So they put 403. The system will immediately bid $199 for them. If somebody comes in at 210, the system bids to 211 for them. If somebody comes in at 250, the system bids to 251. If somebody comes in at 404, which is $1,000 higher than my high bid, I'm going to get a notification that says you've been outbid. Now I'm no longer the high bidder. But I will stay the high bidder all the way until my high preset bid of 403 is outbid. So I'm either going to be the winning bidder or I'm going to need to go in and change it if I get outbid. I tell people don't count on our email because sometimes there's really good spam filters and it feels like our website is spam. By the way, according to our programmers and coders, we have filled out 1 million forms on why we're not spammers or all of those things so that we have a really high level of integrity of like emails that we have going out. But again, you never know. Always collect 3 offers. What I'll tell you is this, is the top 2 offers are always going to be $1,000 apart. This is the way the system works. So you should have 2 fantastic offers. And if the 3rd offer didn't fall off that far below where the 2 highest were, then I would collect the 3rd offer, because the call and the email and the text message and the conversation is the same with all of the top bidders. Like, for example, hey, Mr. Winning Bidder, fantastic job. You're the winning bidder. You're going to get priority on this property. But as you know, terms and conditions are extremely important. We highly encourage you to write the best offer that you can, because our guess is the second highest offer is going to be, or bidder is going to be submitting an offer too. And if their terms or conditions are better, it could be that their offer actually nets the seller more, right? So it's important that you write a strong offer. The second highest bidder, hello, Mrs. Second highest bidder. Now you're not the highest bidder, which means you're not going to get priority. However, terms and conditions matter. If you write an extremely strong offer, it could be that you leapfrog the top offer if theirs is not as strong. Please write us an offer with the highest and best terms and conditions that you possibly can, on so on and so on and so forth. I actually had a property in my hometown that I sold a couple of years ago. All 5 of the top offers fell off $1,000 apart from each other. I sent that exact email and they decided to up their offer, all of them, not all of them, but some of them. We ended up higher than we were. So it absolutely works. I would recommend at least 3 if you can. Worst case scenario 2, and then try to put the second highest offer that the seller is not willing to accept the first round in backup. It's always nice to have a backup if you can. That's what I try to do. We said this already. Dump everybody to the CRM, of course. Sellers, of course, love to see multiple offers on their property. We already talked about that. Nice to have a backup. And again, the approved bidder lists, right, to generate more leads in the area. If you're doing a full service on your property, once it's in contract, man, I would do a mailer to the 100 homes around there. I have 24 other buyers, in the area. Are you looking to list? Right? Are you looking to list? We just sold the property at 123 Main Street. We had 25 people put bids on that property. Only 1 person got it. We have 24 active buyers that we know about in your neighborhood. Were you thinking about selling? All right, this is the last day, end of bidding emails. These templates are ready for you to go on the resources page. You don't have to do the work. You can copy and paste. Makes life a lot easier. Again, usahomebids.com/resources. Or once you become an approved USA Homebids agent, we send you a toolbox that has all of the stuff in it. This is the commission demand. So currently we're manual. However, in phase 2, this is going to be automatic. Pay close attention, because you don't want the money to go to the seller that's supposed to go to USA Homebids. And we have had that happen. And it's a very uncomfortable conversation with your seller. You went through the listing agreement. The seller completely understood that the buyer's premium was going to pay the buyer's agent and the platform. So let's say on a $500,000 sale, 0.5% is $2,500. So USA Homebids is going to collect $2,500. If you look at the left side of the screen, that's a commission demand that you fill out for the title company so they can properly pay USA Homebids. On the right-hand side, you'll see the W-9 that they're going to ask for. Again, this comes in your toolbox when you become a certified agent. It also is available on our resources page to make life easier for you. We also send it to you once your listing ends on USA Homebid, the bidding's over, you get to see it again. If you don't give this to title and they accidentally pay that $2,500 to your seller because you forgot to put it into the demand, we're going to ask you for that money. Like it's a number of times that we give you notifications that the $2,500 is due. It's a hard conversation to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you remember when you signed that listing agreement and you agreed to 0.5%, and well, it accidentally ended up in your pocket because I forgot to create the demand. It's just a weird conversation. What I will tell you is phase 2 of the new system, this demand will automatically get generated for you. And then you'll have to adjust the demand based upon where you end up in contract. We're going to make an assumption. We're going to probably send it to you 3 or 4 times in the first 10 days. And then we're going to make a phone call if we haven't heard back from you on day 10. What will happen is a notification is going to go out to you with all the escrow information, and then this will automatically generate over to the escrow, and you won't have to do it yourself. However, right now on phase one, it's still going to be a manual process. I'm trying to save you a grief. So I'm going to go through it one more time. If you list a property on USA Homebids, you, the listing agent, owe USA Homebids 0.5% if you sell the property in the next 180 days, and a demand will be required to go to escrow. Some people say, hey, what if I, tried to sell it on the platform and then I sold it 4 months later, still owe the 0.5%. We consider this an amazing listing acquisition tool and an amazing buyer acquisition tool. And we'll tell you, the guys that originally started this about 13 years ago, when they first did this, they said, hey, you only have to pay if you sold through the platform. They told us almost every single time the high bidder was the one that they closed with, and almost every single time the agent said they didn't sell it through the platform. So it's just easier to say you owe the 0.5% instead of chasing people around. Again, I just want to be super clear. If you do this up front, it's super easy. The seller understands, the money gets paid, everybody's super happy. And if you did it right, the seller sold for more than they would any other way, and everyone wins.
And you have to understand, so we have some agents saying, listed to the platform, it's my lead, my seller listed to the platform and it didn't sell, and I went back to the market and sold it. You still, every time you list to the platform, you have to pay 0.5%, right? So that's agreement what we have with Homebids, and that's like Russ said, is not only sellers listing generation tool, but the buyers leads generation as well, because every single listing, even if you don't sell, you should be able to get 10 to 20 buyers leads. How much are these buyers leads worth to you, right? I know people, they're paying $2,000 to $3,000 to $5,000 a month to Zillow to generate under 20 leads. $5,000, right? So, and with each listing, we can get those 20 buyers leads for free.
I like free better than $5,000.
Me too.
It's definitely better than 5,000. All right, keys to success. Again, this is a section that we've added in the new training. It says list 43% below market value. Again, I think that's a test question. I'm telling you right now, I do 50% all the time. That is what my new best practice is, 50%. It just works. And it leaves less ambiguity around like being too close to the actual value of the property. If you list at 50%, and you're kind of biting the bullet, everybody understands that it's half price to start off with, it works out better. Ensure you're listing on MLS and make sure that you click the syndicate to the internet button or the API button or whatever button it is in your state or your MLS, so that we're getting all of those free leads from Trulia, Redfin, Zillow, Realtor, any other site that's in your area. Post your listing on a Thursday. Again, why would you go against science? National Association of Realtors says you get $3,000 more if you list on Thursday. Like, why would you list any other day? It makes no sense to me. Set your bidding timeline for 11 days and end at 6 p.m. on Sunday. Unless, of course, your bidding ends on a holiday, and then you want to do at least one extra business day. And if it's a holiday where everybody's hammered and not going to be functioning the next day, then you might want to go until Tuesday. You can use your best judgment depending upon the holiday and the area that you're in. Like if you're a Philadelphia, I'm sorry, not Philadelphia, St. Louis fan, right? Or no, sorry, Kansas City fan. That's who won this year. If you're a Kansas City fan, and you were going to list in your listing on Sunday, I would probably have pushed it all the way to Tuesday, right? The Chiefs won, Kansas City went bananas. I don't think anybody was functioning on Monday, so you would go to Tuesday. Otherwise, it'll just be Sunday. I'll tell you, it's amazing. Those three things, people will call me and they say, hey, we tried your system, it didn't work. Like, really? It didn't work? Like, well, walk me through. Like, where did you start the bidding? We started at 750. What's the property worth? 800. Well, yeah, that doesn't work. What day did you start on? We started on a Tuesday. We know you said Thursday, but this client really wanted to do Tuesday. I'm like, great. Did you run for 11 days at least? Like, no, we just did that one weekend. So we did 5. Well, you didn't use the system, right? So the system works. 50% below value. Put it on Thursday, put on MLS, syndicate, run it for 11 days. Make sure your listing agreement has the correct language. Don't call it an auction. It's not an auction. We're just a marketing tool to establish a price for the property. Make sure you put all of the correct stuff in your listing. Make sure you put the FAQs on MLS. Go through the text message campaign that I talked to you about, both during the process. Are you a buyer with an agent? Are you an agent or are you a buyer without an agent? When you're on the phone, I promise your phone's going to blow up. Those 3 text messages are important, as well as the follow-up messages I caught today. I'm a buyer.
Hey, Russ, Janae.
Yeah.
Janae with a quick question. How are you doing?
Love it. Thank you.
Great. I had such a great experience with the Homebids platform just a few weeks ago. And I wanted to ask, when I got certified for it just last month or so, 33% was the starting value. So I want to know why you went to 50, what your thoughts are about that. And then also just a little feedback, the biggest concern from the MLS and them forcing us to call it an auction and treat the transaction so differently is because it skews their data when we start from such a low amount and then end up sometimes over what the appraised value is. So that will exacerbate their concern. So the question, why 50% and what happened to 33%? Why is that not working?
So Janae, I'll tell you this. If you are and I try to put this as delicately as I can. If you are a really good agent that does a fantastic job working with your seller on the actual true value of the property, 33% will work. What I can also tell you is I have found that you can't go too low. So even on my, like that flip that I did on that, that's my own personal property. It's my own money, right? It's how I feed my family. It's how I, do things with my family. I now go 50% of value because I know that you can't start too low. And me, a little bit, I'm proving a point with all of the agents that are on Homebids, right? Because they all want to go too high. What happens is agents create a false sense of what the value of the property is worth with the seller. And if I try to say this as delicately as I can, if you close, 4 deals a year, you're commission starved a bit, right? And so you're much more willing to acquiesce to whatever the seller wants to do. So, if they say, hey, listen, we need to list 33% below market, and the seller thinks it's worth $1 million, but it's only worth 875. Then, if it's worth 875 and we start at 670, it's just too close, right, to the value of the property. Now, if it's worth 875, you guys can agree on it and you go 33% of 875. That's a much more realistic situation. And the reason I've gone to 50 is because, it's so dramatically lower. I know it's not going to hurt your ending price, right? Your ending price is going to be your ending price, regardless of how low you go. If you started at $1, your ending price is going to be phenomenal. If you start at 50%, your ending price is going to be phenomenal. If you start at 80%, now you're putting yourself in jeopardy of this property not working. Maybe even 75%. Again, Janae, 67% works great. Unfortunately for you and I, we're in one of the MLSs that's ridiculous. And they don't understand the rules. And, I don't care about their data. I'm paying for them. So go tweak your data, go fix it. So, give me a break. They told us originally the reason they didn't like us is because we were not good comparables because we would sell so far below market. Right. And so I came to one of their meetings and I showed them, the average price per square foot prior to me going on the market, and the fact that we actually sell 5 to 7% above market. I had probably 13 examples in the last 3 months, right? And said, I'm trying to understand why you think that this isn't a good comparable because we're actually selling above value. Well, then
I wanted to share also. I was in a panel today. I wasn't on the panel. I was listening to the panel with the top agents in Keller Williams, and coincidentally, interestingly enough, they are all seeming to underprice the market value to make sure that they get the run up on the property and the interest on the property that they're expecting. And it wasn't as far as 33% below, but it was significantly lower than they used to. And I wondered if you were factoring that in, since that's a tactic that a lot of the agents who aren't using Homebids are seeming to default to, so they can shake the bushes. And the last comment I have on this is the property that I did do a pre-appraisal and pre-listing and pre-pest inspection, and did a lot of the improvements to the property that were safety issues that we would have got caught up in from the buyer's side. So the transaction went smoothly, but sorry about the background noise. but I did know the value going into it, and that's why I did feel comfortable at 33%. So I would likely use that formula. And I think if I went 50%, I might even be damaging my own credibility in how to price a property. But I want your comments on that.
Sure. So I'm going to start with the first one in the KW. By the way, that was my exact argument because MLS in Sacramento, again, I apologize for those of you that are having to hear our dirty laundry here in Northern California. But MetroList has a new rule that says whatever price you put on the listing agreement has to be the price the seller is willing to accept. And I said, listen, the agents all the time are pricing properties aggressively to draw interest and know they're going to go over value. As a matter of fact, I gave a example of a not to be named brokerage that my brother made an offer on $60,000 above list price. The day it came out, they waited 3 days and sold it to somebody else, right? So there's a lot of people that are using the price lever strategy. Ours is transparent. Like we are telling them, hey, this is a bidding platform. This is not the price you're going to buy it from, or this is the starting bid price. And Janae, from a 50% perspective, for me personally, I don't feel like it's damaging my credibility because I'm telling people it's a bidding platform and it's a bidding process, and I can start at $0, right? It's a starting point. It's not the finishing point. But yeah, it's interesting that they're using the strategy, which in my opinion, absolutely makes sense. Why would you price it way above market value? Our job as real estate agents, in my humble opinion, is to get every single interested person in the area that's looking for a property to come look physically at your property. That's what marketing is intended to do. And as real estate agents, if you get every potential buyer to come look at your property, you have done your job, right? And then of course, from that point forward, you got to negotiate well. Janae, I love that you did the reports ahead of time. You did the pre-appraisal. You got rid of all of the red flags that could have caused you to fall out of escrow early on. I think you did a phenomenal job. That's all part of our job. But again, a key part of our job is to get every set of eyeballs that's available in that area that's looking for a property to come see ours. Even Ma and Pa Kettle that don't have an agent that just picked it up on Zillow, our job is to get them there. And I think that this platform does an awesome job of marketing a property, getting every set of eyeballs on it. Is it new? Is it different? Do we ruffle a few feathers here and there? Yeah, absolutely. You know, did eBay ruffle a few feathers at the beginning? Absolutely. Amazon was never going to work, right? It was a revenue model and there was no profitability. And I think Jeff Bezos may tell you differently now that he has made $1 or $2 with Amazon. So it's just anytime that you change. People didn't like Netflix, right? When Netflix first came out. By the way, those of you that are with EXP, we get a lot of hate, right? So anytime that it's new and you're changing the world, people are going to be a little controversial. So great question, Janae. Thank you so much for adding to the training. I loved it. All right, marketing. I don't know what you guys do, but I do a series of short videos. I have a marketing person that helps me. So I'm all over social media, not only paid, but also free, right? And I'm trying to optimize each of the different apps to make sure my property gets out there as much as you can. There's a great property boost feature inside of KV Core. For 1 week, it only costs $60. And you get to send this beautiful report to your sellers of how many impressions, clicks, leads, et cetera, that you did through your social media advertising. I always send it over to show them that I'm doing more than the average agent. It's amazing. Make sure you hold the 5 open houses. Some people are like, hey, I used your system, but I didn't do any open houses. Well, that wasn't the plan either, right? The system is 5 open houses. What I can tell you is 4 works just fine. If you want to do the 5th Twilight, the test question is going to be 5. But 4 will still work. And I will be honest with you, there are some where it's just been really rough to get the listing. They're tenant occupied, and I've only done 2, right? Saturday and Sunday of the closing weekend, but it's harder. I would highly suggest you get 4. I normally buy tenants gift cards, to Chili's or Applebee's, and I usually buy them a couple $100. And I'm like, hey, go to 4 lunches on me, right? It's going to be Saturday, Sunday. And it will make your life a lot easier. You're going to make way more than $200. Always take professional pictures and videos. I felt like this was a just gimme, but that's your brand, right? It's not so much, that you spent the money on the house or whatever. That's your brand. If somebody's going to hire you in the future, the first thing they're going to do is go look at your old listings. And if they see, pictures you took with your iPhone, that haven't been professionally edited, and, some video walkthrough where you're in the mirror, as you're walking through the property. That's just not good for you. Post your video to YouTube. For those of you that don't know, it's part of the whole Google family, right? It boosts your search engine optimization. And again, there's plenty of things that you can do there. We talked about sending out those emails that final day. A lot of it's automated now. It's going to continue to get better, but the more marketing, the better. You can't do too much marketing. And then, I call and follow up with everybody. If I'm not busy Sunday evening, as soon as the bidding ends, folks are excited, right? They just got done bidding on a property. I'll call them right then if I'm not busy Sunday evening. If I am busy Sunday evening, I call them first thing Monday, but never later than first thing Monday. But make sure that you're as aggressive as you can be and you communicate well, and the system works great. Here is a list, which is cool now, of all of the automated emails, which is super cool. It didn't used to happen on the old system. These are all automated. Nothing you have to do. It's really cool. And these are just going to get bigger. And if you see something that is missing from the list, feel free to give it to us. We'll give it to our programming team and we'll get it implemented in the future. All of the best ideas have come from you, not from us. And we continue to make the system better and the process better. Anyways, that's just a continued list of the updated emails. After you pass your exam today, or if you're already a certified agent, make sure that you look for your DocuSign and your Homebids contract. You're gonna have to sign that. We're gonna send you the welcome email that gives you all the training, the logins, the resources page that I've been talking about the entire time. Very key that once you get registered, you go in and update your profile and enter all of your information, including your broker, your picture, what areas you're going to service. I can't tell you how many times we have agents in a zip code already, and I get an email from a prospective seller that wants to sell in that area. I got to go track you down because they've already done a search on the system. Hey, I searched in my area. I didn't see an agent. Do you have anybody certified here? And then I'll look up and they never updated their profile. And that lead would have went directly to them instead of to me. So make sure that you go update your profile, enter the areas that you service. You're going to get a lead or two a year, at least in my opinion, that's looking for you, that doesn't know you exist. I highly suggest you bookmark the resources page. If not, it's www.usahomebids.com/resources, and you can get to it at any time. Watch all the videos. I do a bunch of trainings on there. If you've forgotten how to do anything, you can't get a hold of me via phone, which I try to do my best to get back to everybody the same day and coach you. There's resources there. This is what the resources page looks like on the far left-hand side. Bunch of how-to guides, keys to success, do's and don'ts. Again, before you do your first one, I highly recommend you go in there. I have all kinds of scripts that I've given to you. If you come to my Thursday class, not tomorrow, but next week, I do my best to get at least one appointment on a for sale by owner with every single person on the call, right? So as I'm going down and I'm just speed dialing everybody, I try to get at least one listing appointment, with a for sale by owner for everyone on the call. And you can hear my script 100 times. And then at some point you can just do it on your own. And it works, but I have listings coming. I have listings in contract and I have listings that we have. All of them are for sale by owners that I call.
Hey, Russ,
Yeah.
another question on that note. One of mine that you helped me with on that call just converted. And he's, well, actually, we've got the listing appointment tomorrow. It's the second follow-up listing appointment. And one thing I do seem to need with this guy, because he's an IT professional, wants to see a demo of the USA Homebid system. And I have yet to track down a demo video or something that I could use. So maybe you could email me or point me in the direction what screens I should hit or how I should do it, because I don't think we have that, do we?
Do you know, we have like a, hey, here's how the system works video.
No, we don't have a demo, especially for a new platform. He wants to see how it's posted, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She said yes.
Yeah, we don't have that. You can do you can log in and show them. I never had the circumstances that they ask.
Yeah. Wonder so we had it. So here's the problem that we had, Janae, and we'll work on that. I think that's a good suggestion. Is we used to run a test property on the platform. And then there's two things that we did. Because the old system, we weren't able to modify, right? It was the original founder's system that was just old and archaic. I have to say what it is. We weren't able to do anything, but when we had that test property, we would use it for all of our trainings, right? And then we would also use it for demos. And when we did that, because the old system didn't know what it was doing, it would send weird messages to anybody that had ever taken our class or anybody that ever goofed around on the test program. But what I would say is, if somebody wants to see it actually, kind of in progress or work, I would probably just go to the platform and I would explain it, the way that it does work, show them one of the properties that's closed. I would take them through, Janae, the property that you actually did, right? I would say, hey, here's the one that I actually did. Here's where we started. Here's where we expected to end up. Here's where we ended up. Super happy client. That's probably what I would do in the short term, is demo what you've done already. And then that way you don't have to worry about, something quirky happening or it not being your property or our test system not working, but we will get something together. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Or you
that was
can
my
have
plan.
you can have them watch the next one that goes live.
Yes, it'll be part of my listing presentation with him, and to really be clear on what he's getting into, because he's a FSBO and he thinks he can do it himself, and now being an IT guy, I wouldn't be surprised if he's trying to pick the system off, and build his own. But I just wanted to give him a little bit better than a high level view of what it does, so that he can calm down and let us take the reins and get his house sold.
Yep. I have one going live next Thursday in Rockland, and I have one going live the next Thursday in Folsom. So
Nice.
Yeah, I have those two
Okay.
in the next 2 weeks, but yeah, I would take them through yours. And again,
Okay.
if he's going to try to sniper the system, I'd probably just take him through yours, and then, make sure he understands that, people that for sale by owner leave money on the table every single time for a number of reasons. And Janae, what I normally do on skeptics is I just overwhelm them a little bit on purpose on how the transaction is going to go. So, do we have time? Yeah, okay, we're doing good. So I'll give you a quick overview of when I go to a for sale by owner. By the way, what I would show them, Janae, is I have a YouTube video that shows people how to maximize their value without using an agent. And by the time they're done watching that video, this is for sale by owners, right? How to maximize your value without using an agent. Go on my YouTube channel and check it out. I show them that. I always send that to them as a resource. And by the time they're done watching it, they're like, you're hired. I don't want to do any of that. But I walk them through, some of the pitfalls. Like, let's say you're my for sale by owner. Hey, Janae, I just want to give you a heads up on some of the stuff that you don't see in the background. So once we get through this process, and be reminded, this process nets anywhere between 5 and 7% above market value. That's not where it is. In the state of California, which is what you're in, Janae, the state of California, the seller actually can get sued for specific performance, right? So once you enter a contract, Janae, you're stuck. What we do ahead of time, Janae, is we make sure that we have essentially pre-negotiated a number of the things that can happen during a contract. There's 3 major hurdles that any seller is going to need to get over prior to the close of escrow. Number 1, in the state of California, there's an inspection period. Generally, the last 17 days, we can try to shorten that up. It's one of the things that we negotiate ahead of time. And we can also posture on what you are and aren't willing to do prior to the request for repairs. Now, as a for sale by owner, obviously you'd have to negotiate that yourself with the buyer's agent, because most buyers are going to come in with agents. And if they don't have a buyer's agent, trust me, Janae, they're being coached by one, right? And so they're going to come in with a hefty request for repairs or a price reduction. And again, we can posture ahead of time to make sure that stuff is handled. And Janae, I know you have already done a good job on getting pre-inspections and making sure all of the red flags are gone. So that's the last thing that you want to do as a for sale by owner, is get stuck in that situation where now you're 17 days into a contract and you have this buyer asking for a significant price reduction or asking you to do a ton of repairs that you weren't expecting. Again, we handle all of that for you. Number 2, the appraisal. I was in lending for 16 years. Appraisers are like water and humans. They're lazy, right? And so if you give them a full appraisal package prior to going into escrow or prior to them coming out to do the appraisal, chances are you're going to have a significant influence on that appraisal. Again, any appraiser is going to bring a property in within a certain range that they're allowed to bring it in with. We put together a full appraisal package, which includes the comparable properties we know they can use, that we want them to use, as well as all of the upgrades that you've done over the last 10 years. And lastly, we put out the last page of the USA Homebids bidding on your property so that they know that there was more than one person that was willing to pay 5 to 7% above value. Again, when you use this process, we end up above value. It's going to be harder to get a appraisal there, but we make sure that we circumvent that by sending the comps that we want them to use. We send all the upgrades that you've done the last 10 years, and we show them that there was more than one person that was willing to pay this price and how competitive the bidding was. Now, we're not supposed to have a huge influence over the appraiser, but we give them all the tools that they possibly can need to bring the appraisal in where we ended up. And then lastly, the loan. My goodness, if you don't have a good lender, it could be an absolute nightmare. So again, because I was in lending for 16 years, I always make sure prior to us getting into escrow, because again, going back, we're in a specific performance state. You're stuck, they're not. Before we get into escrow, I make sure I call the lender and make sure that the property or the buyers are desk underwritten. Essentially, all conditions are met, except for a few that they can't cross their T's on or dot their I's on until they're in contract. I want to make sure that we have no issues or as few issues as we can for the loan. And Janae, I can't tell you that we're going to have a flawless process that happens like 1 out of 10, but what I can tell you is I've done a ton of these. Those are 3 of the big hurdles that we're going to have to get over, and we pre-negotiate and make sure we're ahead of curve on all of those. By that time,
Those are great.
yeah, for sale by owners want nothing to do with their own property and selling it.
You can see
Yeah.
Russ has done this a couple of times.
I've done it a couple times. Yeah, so that's the pitch that I use,
Well-
you know, I'm pretty successful on listing appointments.
Oh,
Even
lastly,
those.
I did use some advice that Enyart gave me too, because this guy was so interested in showing his property. When I showed up, he looked like he had the Century 21 jacket on, and the way he was showing it and dancing around room to room. I did Amir today. I said, you know what? You seem to really like real estate, even though you're in information technology. Have you ever thought about coming to work as a realtor? Or you could come work on my team. And he laughed. So I think he's really starting to realize this is not something he can do.
No. And by the way, I don't know if Lisa's here, but can you mention that list of buyers app again? Does anybody remember me mentioning a buyer app with a list of buyers?
Yes. I believe it's KV Core you were talking about.
Yes, perfect.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
with the USA Homebids, is that an app as well?
So USA Homebids will pull up on your phone. It's not a app. However, that's going to be in our development. So you are going to be able to use the app to bid, which is great, which we can do with the new platform. As you can tell, I'm very excited about this new platform. I can't wait to start promoting it probably the fall of this year, after all of us are, you know, test subjects on it for a little while and we get all the wrinkles ironed out. But KV Core is a CRM, a customer relationship manager or whatever CRM stands for. I've heard it said like 9 or 10 different times. I call it a customer relationship manager. So there's an open house app that comes with KV Core. And what's really cool is that open house app, you bring it to the open house. I put it on my Samsung tablet, but you could put it on an iPad. I'm just a Samsung guy, an Android guy. And when people come in, they put their name, their phone number, their email, and then a couple little disclaimer questions, and then boom, they're registered. It goes directly into my CRM. It tags them as people that came into this open house. It immediately puts them in all of the communication for that open house, and then puts them on a drip campaign for properties that are similar to that one in the open house, which is super cool. We're also going to integrate with that with our API or their API, so that we can then market to them as this bidding process is happening. Hey, you haven't registered yet. It's the red hot property. Are you sure you don't love it? You know, that kind of messaging that's coming in either phase 2 or phase 3, but we're integrating with that because KV Core is one of our favorite CRMs. And then to be completely frank with you, I work at EXP. Amir works at EXP, and it's a $499 a month CRM that we get for $85. So we figured why not, you know, take advantage of the CRM that we already have.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, I think we're going to put if we haven't done it already, we're going to put the test into the chat box. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. The one quote unquote trick question, the seller still in the United States of America is required to release or pay all of the commissions. even though we separate them in our addendum and saying that, hey, we're collecting a 3% buyer premium that can be used for closing costs. Those closing costs can include the buyer's agent commission and the USA Homebids fee, which again, that's what we're calling it. We just have to be careful to call it the closing costs. It's still coming, quote unquote, the seller has to release it. So it's not a trick question. Just make sure that you're there.
Okay, I just posted the test, a link to the test. USA Homebid. Go ahead and register on usahomebid.com as well. You register as an agent. Okay, took the exam already. So if you have taken exam, go ahead and register and then send the email to TalkTime to make sure we can cross-reference and make sure that you're certified. How long will the exam be? Do I need to take it and already certified? If you're already certified, you don't need to take the exam. That's fine. So you just make sure you send a message to TalkTime that you attended today's class, and then she can change your status to certified to new platform. The reason is because we wanted to make sure people are aware of the new platform, how to use, because it's a little bit different. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no questions, you can take the exam anytime later, so we can finish the training today now, and we can stop the recording, by the way.